Okay, for my own mental sanity, right? The framework of this video is going to be my decision making for transitioning, my experiences, etc. There is a little bit of a trigger warning because things get a bit heavy. Let's try to keep it a little bit civil in the comment section. I know it's hard for some of you, but yeah, we're going to just get into it, okay? So basically, there's a few things I want to start off with, and this is going to be a whole life story, except it's going to be super abridged, and I'm only going to touch on some major events, and I'm going to skip a lot of stuff, but yeah. So basically, when I was in high school, right, I was 240 pounds. In 10th grade, I totally didn't know why I couldn't get myself to smile. My diet was totally terrible, right? My exercise life, there wasn't one. I couldn't get myself to take care of myself. I was just so upset with a lot of things, and I wasn't a person that anybody liked specifically. I mean, it wasn't that I was doing anything wrong. It's just I hadn't found myself as how I feel when I look back at things. So I had to deal with the popular girls grabbing my chest, grabbing other parts of my body, right? This was when I was a fat boy, okay? And then, even in swimming class, there was a kid that just started groping me to the point that my gym teacher had them sit out for swim class that day. And that was the biggest time that anyone was reprimanded for their behaviors toward me. Now, when I started the thought of that I needed to transition, this wasn't something that anybody in my area was doing. This wasn't something that I even heard of. I was not taught this in school. The internet didn't say oh, and whatever. We didn't have this culture that we do now, that there is everybody trans, blah blah blah, whatever, that everybody knows what a trans person is, right? I still felt it was the right decision for me. I was dealing with hyperhidrosis, this constant terrible sweating, stinky sweating stink. I had chronic daily headaches. I couldn't even function no matter how I kind of changed my days around. I'd try to exercise. I'd try to eat healthy, but ultimately, I wasn't able to because I was living with my parents and just eating the junk food that they had, kind of thing. So I ordered hormones online and I kept them in my closet. They were in the closet for a year and 3 months. I did research that entire time. I weighed the pros and cons of these decisions. And once I turned 22, I made the very adult decision to start hormones on April 6, 2013. So when the very day I started them, my mom was saying, "You're not my son anymore," and whatever. And I was like, wow, this just kind of syncs up. Whatever. I'm just going to phase it out. It was a matter of 2 weeks before the hyperhidrosis went away. If I'm being completely honest with everybody, I felt so much more confident about myself. I started going for long walks. It eventually became I need to start taking care of myself. I am actually happy being me. I want to have a future. I don't have these horrible, depressing, I can't even say how depressed I was. That might be against terms of service. But I was very not happy with being alive, I guess. And so it got to the point that my changes became a bit more noticeable. And my parents really didn't agree with what I was doing. They had me admitted to a psych ward because they didn't understand what I was doing. I'm not their son anymore. They really emphasized on this. They made up some things about me and had me admitted. I was in the hospital for 6-7 days that I wasn't able to take my hormones. I was going through terrible sweats. I just felt so betrayed by my parents, and it took about half a decade for my mom to really get back on my kind of side after that. And so there are repercussions for going after your trans child that you have to understand that these decisions affect us, and if this is the right path for us, it's the right path for us, or if this is what we're going to do, it's what we're going to do, and you just have to try to love and accept us. And it took my mom time for that. But basically, from this point, I was kind of kicked out of the house. I didn't have money. I was on Social Security income at the time because of the chronic headaches. And just like, I didn't know how to like go from there. I was jogging every morning to try to like stay fit. I was doing everything I could to try to have a healthy future. And I got myself down to like 165 pounds after not like too long. I mean, I really I shed the weight fast enough that I have like stretch marks on my stomach. But at the same time, like my overall health, my overall mental clarity, the headaches dissipated. I'm sorry if that upsets anybody that I became more functional as a human being, but there you go. Unfortunately, once I moved into my apartment, it was literally about a month and a half later that this one lesbian girl wanted to take me to the bar. And so I went to the bar, the one local bar, and then they wanted to go to a strip club. And I'm like, well, I don't care to go to a, but then I also had this other guy at the bar that was like, yeah, let's go to the, and I'm like, I literally just want to eat. I'm hungry. I don't have the kind of money to just get food. And they're like, oh, I'll get you food. Okay, great. Let's go. So we went, there's strippers, whatever. They're not my thing. It's not my thing. Sorry. And that whole experience is just like, I mean, right? So on the ride home, the driver was a little bit too intoxicated, and I'm at the point where I don't have anybody in my life. There's nobody else to be like, hey, I can't ride home with this person kind of thing. I don't feel comfortable. So we go back. We're going back to the house. I remember I looked over. I said, at least you had a fun night, right? And then I just see that their eyes close, and I look forward, and their car goes off the road. And we're going straight toward a telephone pole. And her Jeep smashes into this telephone pole, and we flip 1.5 times. And I thought I was dead. I saw my life pass before my eyes. In that very moment, I was like, that's it. I closed my eyes. I'm like, I can't believe this is, and then that was it. And then I wake up. I didn't wake up, but it's just like, it's like a scene in like a video game or something that you just like black out or something, and then you come back to or something. There was like this moment, right? And I'm upside down. I'm strapped into the seatbelt. Thank God I put a seatbelt on, right? Seatbelts save lives, people. And there was somebody right behind us that was an emergency fireman, and they saw the whole thing. They called the authorities. They ended up keeping my ID, and that became like a big issue for me because like the people at the DMV really didn't like that I had a female gender marker, and they were giving me trouble with it at the time. But whatever. But yeah, during this accident, the person in the backseat, the guy had no injuries. The girl had a little scrape on her head, and I ended up getting a messed up like rotary issue with my right arm, constant clicking, a big black and blue mark down my arm. I should put up a picture of it. I don't know if I'll edit that in. Maybe I'll just put it up later in another video. I'll probably just do that because for simplicity's sake, I want to stick with like. So not only that, I have constant tinnitus in my right ear since that day. I remember like 3 days later, I'm like, oh my God, when is this going to stop? And then like 4 years later, 5 years later, I'm just like, wow, how am I still living with this? How am I still dealing with this? Tinnitus alone is enough to drive people insane. So that should show you like a little bit of the willpower that I have to continue from that point. Because once I kind of recovered a bit with just this constant, and I still have a clicking. If you really want me to, I can click it in the microphone. It's not going to take much. But I'm not going to. I'll save you the horrible popping and cracking I do like 500 times a day still to this very day. Anyway, yeah, so I go back to taking care of myself, and afterwards I had enormous regret for going out that night, but also this whole window of the year, I did nothing but take care of myself, improve my diet. Anytime I'd go out, there were people that's like, is that a guy or a girl? And then I'd have like cis women hitting on me all the time. I had other cis women that were like, oh my God, you're so gorgeous. You're going to turn out amazing. And it was like such a confidence booster. And it's like, I never had these type of interactions with people. I never had positive interactions with people. So it was like a total 180 from my life. Like, so like moving forward, I find somebody that I wanted to have as a partner. And I finally found like the sense of love for myself to feel like I was able to do that, right? We end up dating, and there's a residency limit at my apartment because I'm, income based and all this. So I'm not actually allowed to have like human interaction or human touch, or just to be able to like have company kind of thing, because why not? But so I give up my apartment to move in with their mom, and we travel across the state. I take what I can, really just changing my life up, trying to make something bigger and better and just be happy, right? So I find out there's a resident limit there as well. And I have to kind of talk to my mom and be like, hey, I don't have a place anymore. Can I come back? And my mom was very much like, no. My mom was more like on terms with me, like understanding of me, like because she's seen what I've gone through. We kind of bonded a bit more as time went on. She became more understanding that I was happy and more outgoing and enjoying my life, actually, like rather than just living in this stagnicity and just. So I end up going back to my parents' house, but my mom doesn't actually tell my dad about this. My partner ends up coming to move in like a few days later. The plan was we were going to move in. We were going to do our best to get stuff together. We're going to get our bearings together. We're both going to find a job. We're going to get a place of our own, and we're going to get out of here as soon as possible. Couple months, we'll save up, move on, right? So my partner literally comes like 3 days later, after I get home. Like they bring their stuff 3 days later. We get literally all their stuff unpacked, and then my dad comes home, and he's beyond drunk, in his underwear, nothing else, coming up the steps, just like whatever. And so he kicks in my door. And I'll never forget this, because I have PTSD, terrible PTSD from this incident. And oh my God, I have terrible PTSD from this incident. What ends up happening is he's like, you're not a woman than my partner. And I'm just like, you need to leave us alone. We are trying our best to move on from here. We have the space here at the house that's not impeding on anybody. It's literally just going to be us going to work and whatever, and we're out of here. He goes into his room and grabs a gun. That's the right thing to do as a parent. And he continues to kick my door in and tells us to get out, and telling us that we're not women, and continues to do this to the point that I have to call the police and run out of the house. I had to get in his face. I had to push him in his room to get him away from us because he kept sticking a gun in my room. The police come, threatening. He's saying, I am going to in the head with a gun, like to me and my partner, right? Am I allowed to say it? I don't know. But like, this is like the reality of like what I had to go through. The police come to the house. He goes to jail for the night, to spend the night or whatever. We end up leaving the next day to try to go back to their parents, and like it doesn't work out. I end up ultimately going back home, and the conditions for me to stay at home was to stop hormones. And I wish I would have just gone homeless for a while, because those 2 years of stopping hormones was the darkest point of my life. My mental health went straight down the toilet. My trust for everyone diminished. I was finally happy, and people wanted to strip that away because I didn't meet what they thought was right, or maybe they were scared of the repercussions of like what other people would think of me or think of them because of how I am or whatever. But ultimately it led to me being off hormones for 2 years. And the changes during that, the changes in my facial structure, the changes in body hair, and just my overall mental health were beyond anything I could really handle. Like, this isn't something you should ever do to a trans individual. I have these tiny white hairs from going through menopausal like symptoms. I understand when I say that, cis women are going to be like, you didn't go through menopause. But if you do a little bit of research, there's menopausal like symptoms that you go through whenever you start and stop hormones. So that's what I did whenever I was, 24 years old, 24, 25 or whatever. It's like, something like that. And yeah, it got to the point that I was just like, I can't live anymore. And it just got so bad that I was like, I don't know what to do. And I don't know what the right path is. And I was so confused. And I was so worried about my home situation and everything. But I was like, I just got this car finally. I finally got a car loan and got this vehicle. And I'm going back to my doctor. And I have to travel an hour to go see my doctor. I got a doctor right after I was admitted, by the way. I had to get like a actual physician. And I gave them all my blood work. I was doing my own blood work, by the way, to check my own levels at quick draw stations. I ended up giving all my blood work to my doctor's office like back then. But anyway, we started back on hormones again. But the changes in like my facial structure, the changes in just like everything, it went from like being in public, like people being like, oh, I don't know if that's a guy or a girl, to like not really passing, or just like anytime I try to go out as a girl, like people laughing at me, and I just felt freakish and wrong again, even though I knew that this is what I felt that I needed to do. For the next 8 years, I've been on hormones, 8.5, whatever. Since I started hormones to now has been 12.5 years, plus the 2 years that I was off hormones in there. So during this entirety of this time, right, this more recent time, my estrogen was extremely low for quite a while there. The doctors didn't exactly, the doctors that I was going to, because I kept going in as a walk-in rather than sticking with a specific physician, the data just wasn't like great, and I was entered in their system as male. So like when I checked the data online, I was like, okay, well, it still shows that like my estradiol's high and my testosterone's low, right? Low for like a guy or whatever. So like, or for transitioning kind of thing. And I thought it was in the framework of like someone that is trans rather than a cis guy kind of thing. But that's how I was entered in their system for so long. There was like this little bit of a clerical error. Now, when people say like hormones should be over the counter and people should have more access to hormones and all of this and that, I very much disagree with that. I think you should get a physician that knows what they are doing. You should go for blood work every 3 months until you get your stuff really leveled out. Then you can kind of switch to like 6 months, a year kind of thing. But like, it wasn't until I got another physician that really heard and understood where I was coming from and how I felt that like my transition just wasn't quite going the direction it should be going, kind of thing. Since I stopped hormones, the changes in my face have caused the dysphoria to the point that like I've felt that I've needed facial feminization surgery, to the point that like I totally disappeared from social media because I couldn't stand seeing other girls get this. Well, my insurance didn't cover it. It wasn't until like a few years in on hormones that, oh yeah, some insurances are covering it, until like another year, oh yeah, there's this one insurance that covers it, but it's not the one you have. Until it was like, oh, okay, you can get on this one insurance that covers it. And it's like, oh my God, okay, so I'm going to schedule this consultation. I scheduled a consultation 3 years ago with a local surgeon, right? It took a year before the consultation. They literally came in, they're just like, oh, you're going to look great. It's going to be whatever. They gave me the confidence of everything. This was last year that they explained, like, but they also were like, now I know you waited a long time for this up till now, but like, this is where the waiting game really kind of starts. And they put me on a list of like 38 other people or something. It was like an extensive list, 32 people, something like that. And they only do one of these surgeries once a month. So this is in network, and this is like dysphoria that's been caused by this. The one thing that I kind of can change, there's care available. The mental impact is very real for this for me, rather people see it or not. And how many, it's probably been a good 2 years worth of days that I go to bed at night and I'm just crying about this, right? So all the meanwhile, I'm battling to try to get this face surgery done, but now given this whole year, there's jeopardy of my coverage and everything. I started the process of trying to get FFS out of network. In February, I was told it's going to take 2 to 3 months for me to be able to get this surgery. It has now been like 7 months, and I'm still trying to get scheduled. My surgery codes are currently, in the moment, into my insurance, but one of the codes does not match after like 3 weeks of calling back and forth and like trying to make sure they have the codes right. Still very much fighting for this. All the meanwhile, there's threats of coverage for this being taken away by the beginning of next year. I highly implore that like this, this needs to be done for me kind of thing. Otherwise, it's like I've wasted so much of my time and energy and effort in my life to try to get this done for my own personal safety, because I don't know what kind of insane people in public, and I put that lightly because in recent events I've had people that have been attacked within my community. The violence has nearly doubled against transgender individuals in the past few weeks, and it's been a lot to deal with. 2025 has been the third darkest time of my transition, and I want to speak from someone that has been on hormones for as long as I have, that literally it doesn't have to be this hard on trans people. We are just trying to live our lives. We have our own battles. And I want to give you one last little bit of detail about me, that at the beginning of the year, even before that, I've had, anytime I go to work a part-time job, I'm getting injured. I'm hurting myself. I'm just having these injuries. I have like a bulging disc in my back. I have a bulging disc in my neck. And I was trying to figure out why I'm keep getting injured. I ended up going to get an injection on my back the one time because I had another new injury. They did a MRI and CT scan, or was it an MRI? It's one of those. They had the imaging. And the doctor comes in and tells me, "Did you wreck a car?" And I'm like, "What?" I was laying in bed. I was laying in bed when this happened, and they're like totally confused, and they're thinking that I'm lying to them about my injuries, kind of thing. I have been in and out of physical therapy nonstop for the past few years, and my thought was, this is happening to me because of starting and stopping hormones. I do have a slightly larger hip on the right side. I do have a slightly longer leg on the right side. I have these slight malformations, and I highly believe it was because of the time that I started and stopped hormones. The functionality of my body and the way it moves was impacted by this. And who's liable? Who do I sue? Who do I, how do I get reparations for my? You don't. You just don't. You just continue life. I still have the tinnitus. I still have the creaky arm, but I also have this neck that, if it goes out of place, that's the end of my ability to even like move around. If my back goes out of place, it's just like, okay, there goes my ability to kind of like walk and bend and everything. It wasn't until the beginning of this year that I went to a rheumatologist and I was diagnosed with HLA-B27 positive. It is a juvenile arthritic condition. They had me go for imaging in my back. The one with the magnet, I think that's an MRI. I can't remember. My brain, again, I have been under so much stress, but I get this imaging done. I go back to the rheumatologist. They tell me I have fluid of unknown origin in my spine. As of right now, that's still not gone. This entire year I've spent with that. I'm dealing with tremendous pain shooting down my left leg since last year when I went to the physical therapist and they moved my leg and crunched it the one way. and I continue to have like popping, cracking, grinding pains, you know. So I'm dealing with all of this, and the rheumatologist says I have HLA-27 or HLA-B27 positive, which is a juvenile arthritic condition. And my mouth just like dropped. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what? And she explains to me that it's nothing that I did. It's nothing I did in my lifetime to bring this out. I wonder though if starting and stopping hormones had maybe an effect to like bring this out a bit, because this is an underlying condition in many people and it doesn't impact them, but for some people that it does, and it can develop in the worsening autoimmune conditions. I had my blood work checked. I don't have like the white blood cell count for like these autoimmune disorders, but at the same time, I have fluid of unknown origin in my back that indicates ankylosing spondylitis, which is a juvenile arthritic condition, which explains why I've had so much difficulty with mobility, why I've like not been as active, why I've, throughout my like childhood and stuff, and it just hit me so hard. So what they want me to do is start an immunosuppressant medication. This is what I'm told at the beginning of the year. I have to inject myself once a week, and after 3 to 6 months, these symptoms could improve. All the meanwhile, I've been needing this facial feminization surgery, and I get to my doctor, I'm telling them, my cousin threatened my life at my aunt's funeral last year. He said it didn't matter if I'm a guy or a girl the next time he sees me. I have been dealing with too much stress of just worrying about like how people are going to interact with me in public. I need to have the confidence of being able to use a public bathroom and just use the bathroom and move on with my day. I mean, I need to be able to like go on about my day without being harassed pointlessly, because some people don't understand how like much I've gone through, and everybody's maturity level is different. Everybody has their own battles. And again, I'm telling you my personal story of like what I've gone through. So I made the decision to not start this immunosuppressant, right? I made the decision to wait because the surgery was going to be 2 to 3 months away. The surgeon that is out of state was taken out of network, so that took extra steps. My insurance company denied me, which took extra steps. It has been constant. The out of network facility said I was denied for financial clearance. Then we had to clear that up. Then I was approved. I didn't have my consultation with them until June 24th. I had a CT scan immediately after that. I ran and went and did that so I could get this done as soon as possible. People went on vacation. It got pushed off a little longer. Literally, this whole process just kept getting pushed off. The fear of living through this year and that very real threats of my coverage being taken away, when this is like finally almost about to be resolved, this major issue in my life. I understand most people don't understand where I'm coming from. I understand some people may think this isn't necessary. It 100% is necessary. I can't tell you how bad my mental health has like deteriorated from just the changes in my face. This is only upper FFS. This isn't even the tracheal shave. This isn't even lower FFS. You want to know what they do? They do what I opted in for was an incision from ear to ear for them to pull my face off and take a like bone saw and like saw this down a bit, give me more of a slope on my nose, just so I don't have to deal with your harassment, because that is easier than trying to change the world. That is easier than trying to get people to act bigger and better than 8th graders. You're adults. I see 40, 50-year-olds acting very much like these children in middle school, high school, and it's beyond disturbing. I mean, it's disturbing to see the direction that we're snowballing to attack people like me. All the meanwhile, I'm waiting for the surgery. All the meanwhile, it's not even a cosmetic procedure for me at this point. It is a life-changing surgery. It's potentially a life-saving surgery. So that's where I'm at with this. I haven't started the immunosuppressant. I've been waiting and doing what I can, yoga, swimming, trying to mitigate this pain, and I'm on non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, and I have dealt with so much pain with this, and I continue to deal with pain with this, and I know that it's going to take 3 to 6 months for this medication to take effect still. So I have another 3 to 6 months of just being tortured by my own body, my own immune system. We're all fighting our own battles, right? And as of right now, if my surgery codes are approved and this all gets going again, if I get back into, it's going to take 8 to 10 days for financial clearance out of network to get this final follow-up appointment. From there, I do blood work and I get scheduled for surgery. Once I'm scheduled for surgery, I feel as though I'm going to feel a little bit more confident that, like, I don't have to worry as much about this being covered, because how could somebody take this from me once it's already approved by insurance? But at the same time, like, the way things are being worded, the way people continue to go after our community without the facts, without understanding there are individuals in these groups that are causing absolutely no harm to anyone. I used to enjoy going to the mall, walking around, doing card magic for people. I used to try to make people happy. I used to have this like fun, positive energy. This year hit, I do not interact with people. I'm scared to interact with people. Because I just don't know. I don't know secretly, do they, and like, what do they? It's been a long, difficult battle, and where I'm at is I need to get this surgery before I can continue my life, essentially. Before I can start this medication to potentially start working a job like full time and being able to do that without injuring myself doing simple tasks. I was working in customer service, folding t-shirts during holiday last year, and people would just come in, like, knock the t-shirts down. It's like, okay, let me bend down and fold them again. And after like 20 minutes of working, I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna puke. And it's like, but it's like, what do I have? Like, I don't have another choice. I kind of have to do this kind of thing, or, so it's unfortunate that people still have to continue to treat people within our community so poorly. I wish I could have started puberty blockers. I wish I could have passed enough for everyone to just be like, all I see is a woman when they talk to me, or whatever. But how I look at myself, right? I do not see myself as a guy. I do not resonate with guy energy. In fact, my testosterone has been below cis male levels for over 8 years. Not only that, though, my testosterone is below that of cis females for that long, to the point that it was like even a little bit unhealthy, to the point that it was causing possibly even like a little bit of like, I don't even know. I know that my levels were so freaking low, and for anybody to call me a guy, I do not resonate with that energy. I do not think with my pants. I'm sorry I'm not sending you unsolicited pictures of my bits. If you really need me to be a man. I mean, that's the amount of those that I've received, by the way. The amount of you that don't understand how many of your husbands are like out here like trying to cheat on you and stuff. Like, it's not my fault. And in fact, like, the science behind trans women is ever evolving, and one of the more recent studies kind of shows that trans women actually kind of need a little bit more estrogen than cis women. So I'm kind of on like more estrogen than most cis women now. My testosterone is in the range of a cis woman at this point, well below a cis male. And so I just, would you treat a woman the way you treat me? And I think people need to look at individuals that harass trans people, because if you want to know how like people treat a cis woman in private, look at how they treat trans women publicly. I don't want to get too much more off topic or anything. Basically, the last thing I'll leave you with is about the FFS. Once the surgery codes are approved, it's roughly 75 days until surgery. Once I get the final consult scheduled, it's going to be 8 to 10 business days. So it's going to be like, what, 14 days once the surgery codes are all approved. I don't know what's going on with that exactly. Hopefully this last little part of the surgery codes gets sorted and fixed, and that I'm able to continue this process. And I'm just hoping to get this done before next year, because I have such a fear that something might come up the beginning of next year that complicates this. As of right now, even if I do get scheduled into next year, I should be getting scheduled and I should be able to get the surgery just fine. It's just unfortunate that I am basically stuck waiting when I could be taking a medication that could be helping me. But I understand that the importance of my mental and physical health, it's more important for me to get this facial reconstructive surgery stuff to better reflect how I am on the inside, better reflect how I feel, and to get myself out of danger in the public eye, because I'm more scared of you people than I am of my own immune system attacking me. That's where I'm at in life, and thank you if you made it all the way to the end of the video.